Okay, so we are going to get the party started here. What you need for today's workout is access to a bench. Now, you can use a coffee table or a couch or the edge of a bed, that sort of thing. We will use the bench for a couple exercises. You need a few sets of dumbbells. So I've got kind of a lighter set, which is kind of like between 5 to 10 pounds, 5 to 12. And then I've got one heavier dumbbell that would be somewhere between like 15 to 25. So a lighter set and then one heavier dumbbell. You also need access to a wall. We'll use the wall for a couple exercises. So if your wall is kind of far away, don't stress. I'll give you a little bit of warning for that. And then you need a mat. And that's it. Okay, guys, we are going to get the party rolling. So let's head on to our hands and knees. And remember, you are muted, so if you want to like chuck some music on your phone or that sort of thing, we won't hear it. We also won't hear your grunting and groaning, so feel free to do that. So your hands are going to go right underneath your shoulders, knees are going to go right underneath your hips. And we're just going to start by taking 5 deep breaths. So when you do your deep breaths, I want your inhales to go into your bra strap area. And when you do your exhales, just imagine exhaling from the bottom up, so from the bottom of your pelvic floor and up. So inhale into the upper mid-back area. And then exhale. You don't have to do a big Kegel, but just a gentle pelvic floor engagement. Imagine those hip bones coming together on the bottom as you exhale. Then inhale into that upper back. Relaxing the pelvic floor and then exhaling from the bottom up. Let's do a few more breaths here. Taking it at your own pace, filling that upper to mid back with air. And then exhale from the bottom up, those hip bones come together. Pressing down into your thumb and into your forefinger as you do this. Nice deep breaths into that upper and mid back. Imagining you're filling that whole back of your rib cage with air as you inhale and exhale. Exhale from the bottom up. Let's do one more deep breath here. And then exhale. Okay, stay in this position on your hands and knees. And we're going to take some big circles with our body. So it's almost let's imagine like you've got a pen on your belly button and you're drawing a big circle with your pen. Okay? We'll do about 5 or 6 in one direction before we switch and go into the other direction. This should feel good on the hips and the shoulders, and then we'll go in the other direction. Big circles, so you're going all the way out over your shoulders and back over your hips. Oh yeah, feels good. About 5 or 6 in each direction. And once you're finished those puppies, you're going to stay on your hands and knees. Let's take one leg out to the side, extended. So I've got one knee bent, one leg extended, and we're going to rock back and forward. So you should be feeling a nice pull on your inner thigh as you come back. So my back isn't rounding as I send my hips back. If you want to play around, you can lift your toe of your extended leg and see if that changes the stretch at all. We'll do a few more on this side, opening up those adductors, and then we'll switch over to the other leg. So you're staying on your hands and knees, leg goes out to the side, rocking back and forward. You might get a little snap, crackle, pop through your hip, like me. Oh, it feels good. Nice work. So just rocking those hips backward and forward, and then taking that toe up to the ceiling to get maybe a deeper stretch or to just change the stretch a little bit. Nice. Okay, so let's go into a high plank position. So I want you to press into your thumb and forefinger so you get out of your wrists, and you're coming up into a high plank. Okay, so we're going to take an inhale back into a downward facing dog. So come with me for an inhale, fill that upper back with air, and then as you exhale, come forward into a high plank. So don't drop your hips all the way down like they're sagging. Keep them up pretty high. Now inhale back, enjoy that lengthening through your hamstrings and calves, then exhale, come through. We're going to take 4 more of these. Inhale back. Nice and slow, fill the lungs with air. exhale, coming through and pausing in that high plank. Inhale back, then exhale and come through. 2 more. Inhale back, lengthening, and then exhale forward. Mini pause, keeping those hips high. 1 more time. Inhale back, and then exhale through. So in your pause here in your high plank, I want you to take one leg, let's take our left leg, and swoop it through like you're gonna do a pigeon pose. Now, if this is a no-go for your knee, I've got another option for you. Otherwise, you're gonna get started in your pigeon pose. You're going to tuck your back toe and lift your knee off the ground and start kind of rocking from side to side, kind of like your hips were a typewriter, okay? You're gonna do about 10 rocks from side to side, getting into your hips. If this is a no-go, then you're on your back in your figure 4, rocking and rolling from side to side, okay? It's literally the same movement, just a little bit more freedom for your knee when you do the figure 4 option. Rocking back and forth, side to side, getting a little bit of mobility into that left hip. So a lot of your pelvic floor muscles are fascially inserted into your hips. So if those hips are really, really tight, sometimes that can create tightness in the pelvic floor or restriction. So let's take those hands back onto the ground. If you're on your back doing figure 4, just switch to your other leg. Press yourself up, take a deep inhale into your downward facing dog, then exhale, come through to the high plank. Bring your right leg through for that pigeon. Make a mental note if one hip feels significantly different than the other. And start to do those typewriter movements going from side to side. So the first time I did this, I think my rocking from side to side felt like about 1/4 of an inch of movement. And as I've practiced it a little bit more, I'm able to get a little bit more of this lateral shift. So remember, if this is bugging your knee on the second side, maybe you're gonna do the figure 4 option instead. Oh yeah, let's do a couple more. And press those hands into the ground and just move yourself back into your hands and knees position, okay? Place one hand down and reach your other arm up towards the ceiling and then switch over to the other side. We're almost done our warm up. We've got one more move after this, and then we get into the fun stuff. Let's take 4 more all together. So pressing that hand into the floor, opening up through your arm. Oh yeah, feels good. Mid-back opening. And let's make our way up to standing. So this is the first exercise you're gonna need access to your wall, okay? So what you're gonna see is I've got my hands on the wall and I'm stepping back just a couple inches. So my body's not totally straight, it's slightly on an angle. Now I'm gonna take my right foot and I'm going to step towards the wall and I'm gonna step back. You're gonna feel kind of like your arms have to bend just a little bit to get your hips forward, and you're stepping towards the wall and then stepping back. Yeah, just like that. Nice. So my arms are bending a little bit and I'm keeping my heel of my back foot onto the ground. So you should be feeling a little stretch in your left hip, front of your left hip, and maybe down to your left calf if you are tight there. Your left knee is pretty straight. Now keep going, but we're going to take your leg towards the wall, but out to the side. So you're gonna get a little bit more stretch onto that inner thigh. So my right foot's still stepping towards the wall, but a little bit more to the right. And my ankle is kind of tipping in towards the inside. So my left ankle is tipping in towards the inside. This is my favorite. Feels so good on the inner thigh. Let's do a couple more here. And then we're going to do the crossover. So now you're taking that right leg and you're crossing it over the left towards the wall. Yes, so crossing it over the left and towards the wall. So both the toes are pointing to the wall. This one might be the most restricted, but basically what you're doing is stepping like this. Hands are on the wall and you're stepping like that. Yeah, so now you're feeling that pull on the outside of your left hip and your left heel is still pushing into the ground. It's gonna wanna come off the ground, but you're not gonna let it. Okay, we're gonna switch. Now we're gonna go step forward with the left foot, just straight ahead like we did the first time with the right. The easy one. You still might feel a nice opening and stretching into your hip flexor on this. Now, if you're the type of person that gets an achy back when you squat, this is a really good warm-up exercise for you to try because it's really integrating some mobility of the ankle and the hip together. So keep that right heel on the ground. Keep stepping forward into that left foot. This is our last warm-up exercise before the fun stuff. Now let's take that left foot out to the side and together. So it's not a total side lunge. It's kind of like a forward and lateral step. Keep that right heel on the ground, okay? You're allowed to tilt inward a little bit, but I want that heel to be pushing into the floor, and then it's gonna feel so good through that right inner thigh. Couple more before we cross over. Okay, so let's switch over to the crossover now. So right foot, or left foot rather, crosses over and goes towards the wall. You're trying to keep your right ankle, your right heel glued to the floor and potentially feeling that lengthening on the right hip. Oh yeah. Remember, you can let those arms bend a little bit as you come closer to the wall with your foot. Let's do 2 more. Okay, so if you want some water, now is a great time to grab it. We have 5 exercises today, which means we're doing a big old monster circuit. We're gonna cycle through those 5 exercises 3 times. So if you, after the first or second round, pick up your pace and go a little faster than me, totally cool. We will kind of do a little pause and meet up after each round. But if you stick with me, or at least close to my pace, then you'll get a little bit more of the cueing. So what I want you to do is take your mat and roll it up a couple times, depending on the thickness of your mat, so that you can put your heels up onto your mat. Okay, so my toes are on the ground and my heels are up on my mat. You're also going to need a heavy dumbbell. So this is relative, right? Might be 10 pounds for someone, it might be 40 pounds for someone else, might depend on what you've got. But you're gonna hold this dumbbell in goblet position, which means you're gonna squeeze your elbows in and rest that dumbbell right up at your collarbone, okay? Now, feet are a little wider than hip width distance apart, big toes pushing into the floor, and we're gonna take 10 goblet squats. So let's inhale on the way down, then exhale and press those big toes into the ground as we stand up. So you're counting your own reps, going at your own pace, but making sure at the top of this movement, your hips are not coming forward a lot. They're staying stacked right underneath your rib cage. Now you're pushing down with your toes, your big toe, your heel into that elevated surface, helps you stay in your legs a bit more and out of your back in your squat. Now, when you finish that 10th repetition, you are going to grab your lighter set of weights, okay? Now, lighter is like 5 to 15 pounds. We're gonna do a side lunge, curl, and press. So I will walk you through this one. Now, I like to do all 5 of my side lunges on one side before I switch to the other side. You can join me if you like. So we'll take one side lunge, like so. Then you'll stand together. Then you're gonna curl and press. That's 1 rep, and we're gonna do 10 all together. So 5 side lunges on each side. Yeah, curl and press. Now, obviously, we're lifting a weight that is going to cater to our strength in the curl and press, not necessarily in the side lunge. Good. All the way to 5 before we switch over to our other side. Nice work. Woo-hoo. Good, good. So once you hit that 5th rep, you can switch over to your other side. Same arms, just leading with the other leg. Side lunge, curl, and press. So in that side lunge, those hips are pulling to the back That inside leg is staying nice and straight. The toes are pointing forward. And as you press, you're careful not to pop those ribs. Keeping them down, stacked over the hips. Good. Awesome, awesome. So when you finish your 5th repetition of side lunge, curl and press, we're moving on to a 1-arm row. So lots of options here. If you want more support for your back, you're gonna put your hand on a nice high surface, maybe the back of the couch or the top of the chair, and you'll row from there. Otherwise, you can bring your hand down onto your bench, coffee table, couch, spread your feet a little wider than hip width distance apart, and as my husband says, this is a lawnmower. You're pulling the elbow right beside your torso, and we're gonna take 10 reps on each side. So come with me whenever you're ready. Now, I like to call it a tripod row because my hand and my 2 feet are creating a tripod on the ground. So if this bugs your back at all, you'll want to use that higher, more elevated option where you put your hand a little higher up, because then you're bent over a bit less. It'll be more stability in your legs and less in your back. Now, when you finish your 10th rep, switch to your other side. Nice. So I have equal weight in my hand and my feet, and in both my feet. We can lift pretty heavy in a 1-arm row because it's back, bicep, back of the shoulder, and core all working together. Woohoo! Get to 10 reps on that second side. When you finish your 10 repetitions, we're going to do, in my opinion, the hardest core exercise in the world. That's exciting, isn't it? Okay, find your place on the wall. So what you need to do, if you have a hard floor, you will need a mat for this one. This is called a slow mountain climber. So I'm gonna press my heels into the wall. My knees are on the ground, okay? I'll talk you through the setup on this one because it's really important. Round 2 and 3 are gonna go a lot faster. So let's reach our hands in front of us, a little more in front than underneath our shoulders, so that when we come forward and we keep our shoulders over our hands, our hips are in front of our knees, okay? So we're not kind of on all fours, we're in sort of a modified plank position. This should feel kind of like work where you are. That's good. Okay, push your heels into the ground, press into the wall rather, press your hands into the ground, take an inhale into that upper back, and then as you exhale, do your pelvic floor engagement, pull your hips together on the front, and hover your knees off the ground. Say, oh gosh, we haven't even started the exercise yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take an inhale, and then we're gonna exhale. Let's float our right knee towards our right elbow. Then we'll inhale to place that foot back. Then exhale, left knee to left elbow. Inhale, float back, go slow. Right knee to right elbow with an exhale, inhale to float back. Left knee, inhale, float back. Right knee, inhale, float back. Exhale, as that knee comes to elbow. You've got 3 more altogether. Oh yeah, 2 more. I lied, you got 1 more on each leg. We've got to be even Steven, right? Okay, drop your knees. So 2 more rounds of that. That's going to be real fun. I'll give you options to make that one harder or easier. Let's move over towards our bench. Get your heels up onto your bench, lying onto your back. This is our 5th exercise in round 1. So I'm digging my heels right into my bench, all right? Pushing them straight down, and I'm going to tuck my tailbone under, okay? I've tucked my tailbone under, and I'm going to lift my bum off the mat maybe like 2 inches, okay? We're just going to hold here. Let's reach the arms up. We're going to hold here before we do the exercise. Imagine your heels are driving down. You're going to keep that tailbone tucked. Now, holding this position, you should feel those hamstrings turning on, okay? And maybe even your glutes. Let's keep that tailbone tuck position, drive the heels down actively, and give me 10 hip lifts. So we're gonna lift the hips up and lower down. Lift up and lower down. So 10 of these. As your hips are lifting up with that tailbone tucked, I want you to imagine driving the heels down into the bench and pulling the heels towards your bum. You're going to say, hello hamstrings, nice to know ya. Holy moly. Good job, guys. Great work. All the way to 10 reps. Once you finish your 10th rep of hip lift, we're gonna move right on back to that heels elevated goblet squat. So make your way up. If you are a little ahead, you can grab some water. If you're a little behind, finish off those hip lifts. And we'll move on into our heavier weight. So 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 pounds, whatever feels best for you today. Tuck those elbows in. Get your heels up onto your elevated surface. A towel works. A mat rolled up. Let's go. Inhale down, exhale up. 10 reps. Remember, at the top of that move, we're not letting those hips come forward, right? We're squeezing the glutes at the top, which means our hips stay right underneath our ribs. Big toes pressing into ground. Nice. You got it, guys. Yeah. Good, good, good. When you finish that 10th rep, we're going to side lunge, curl, and press for 5 reps on each side. So pick a set of weights that's going to be tough once you finish your 10th rep of curl and press. Let's go. Side lunge, curl, and press. Good. Way to work. Woo-hoo. Little bit of lateral movement through those hips. Great job, team. Now we can start to find our flow a little more. 5 lunge on each side equals 10 curl and press all together. Gonna get that heart rate up because we're using tons of muscle groups at the same time. Get the sweat going. Nice job. Yeah. Awesome, awesome. When you finish your side lunge, curl, and press, we're moving on to that one arm row. Either elevated, easier, more supported for the back, or bent over a bit more, which is a bit more of a core challenge, okay? Do your best. If you're a little bit ahead or behind me, that's all good. We will catch up. Push those big toes into the ground wherever you are. Don't be afraid to lift heavy on this one. As long as it feels good on your back. Yeah. One of my favorite exercises. Everyone says I say that about every exercise, which must mean that I'm in the right job if I like that many exercises. Good job, team. Exhale as you pull that elbow right beside your torso. Inhale as it floats down. Yeah. Okay, after you're done your one arm row, 10 reps on each side, we're migrating to the wall for our slow mountain climber. So if you're still finishing off your row, no sweat, well, sweat, but no worries. So hands are gonna reach out a little farther in front of our shoulders. I'm really pushing my heels into the wall. That is the key here, guys. Now, it's gonna be harder the slower you go, okay? Let's bring our hips through. So our hips are in front of our knees. Let's take an inhale. Exhale, press your heels into the wall. Do that deep core engagement. And then lift your heels, or lift your knees rather, just a little bit off the mat. Okay. Let's take an inhale. With an exhale, float your right knee towards your right elbow. Inhale, float it back. Left side. Exhale, left knee to left elbow. Inhale, float it back. Nice. Woo-hoo-hoo. So we're ending up doing 5 on each side. It's not very long, this exercise, but it is hard. Want to make it harder, get your knees closer to the ground. Push your heels into the wall. Slow it down. Exhale as that knee comes to the elbow. I got one more on each side. Yeah, good. And release. Quick little tip before we go into our hip lift. If that's causing you low back pain, try tucking your tailbone a little bit more, okay? We've got one more round to practice that. So heels go up onto your bench. We're gonna do our little hammy prep. So I'm bringing my bum pretty close to the bench so that my bum is closer to the bench than my knees, all right? So it's not a 90-degree bend. Heels dig down, arms reach up. Tuck the tailbone, lift the hips a couple inches off the ground with that tailbone tucked, okay? Drive the heels down into the bench. Hold, breathe. We're preparing those hamstrings. Now pull the heels down and back. Now your hamstrings are ready. Okay, 10 hip lifts. Here we go. So I know it's kind of funny to do that little prep for like 3 to 5 seconds before you do your hip lift, but it really keeps the move into your legs, into your glutes and your hamstrings rather than into your low back, because so many of us, our low backs will want to take over for a variety of reasons, and just doing those little prep exercises can really help to spread the load around a little bit more, so those glutes and hamstrings are doing a bit more work. Okay, when you finish that 10th rep on your feet elevated hip lift, you know where we're going. Round 3, man. So roll up that mat, find your heavy dumbbell, whatever that means for you today. Get your heels up, big toes press into the ground, heels press into the mat, and give me 10. Nice. Inhale down, exhale up. So I find when I do all that hip prep, like that 3D pigeon and the wall step before I do this exercise, it feels good. The squat feels really nice. Feels like I have lots of space in my hips. I'm not aching in my back. So I hope that is helpful for you too. Now, when you get to that 10th goblet squat with heels elevated, you know where you're going. Side lunge, curl and press, 10 total, 5 on each side. Yeah. Round 3 of 3, home stretch. Nice. You got it, team. Hopefully you're breathing and breathy, not necessarily breathless, but getting the blood flowing. Nice work, guys. Lateral step, toes point forward, heels on the ground, hips pulling out to the back. Yeah. Now, when you finish your side lunge, curl, and press, we are going to our one arm row. Last round, guys. Find that heavy dumbbell. Come low or high with your hand and start the lawnmower. Yeah. Press that hand into your bench. Press your big toes into the ground. It really helps to stabilize those hips. You got it, team. Bend your knees a little bit, especially if you're feeling any tension in the back. 10 on one, 10 on the other. Good job. Home stretch here, guys. Finish strong. You got this. Press the big toes into the floor. Bend the knees. Yeah. Okay, when you are finished, your 10 one-arm rows on each side, you're migrating over to the wall. You're going to set yourself up. We've got 2 exercises left today. So I've tucked my toes under, my heels are on the wall, my hands are reaching out in front of me. Then I'm going to come through. So my shoulders are over my hands, my hips are in front of my knees. Push your heels into the wall, okay? Before we lift up, let's try doing that little tailbone tuck. See if you feel more abs, okay? Inhale, then exhale to hover. Keep the tailbone tuck and hover. Okay, now let's inhale, then exhale, drive right knee towards right elbow. Push the left heel into the wall. Inhale, float back. Exhale, left knee to left elbow. Inhale, float back. 4 more on each side. See if you can keep that tailbone tucked. Go slow. Keep the knees hovering. Oh, looks good. Keep it up, keep it up. You are so close. Couple more on each side, guys. Press the floor away, thumb and forefinger. Tuck the tailbone. Do your best. And rest. So lots of things to figure that exercise out. Tucking the tailbone helps, pressing the floor away helps, pairing your breathing properly helps. Now, feet go up onto the bench. Last move of the day. Get your bum kind of close to your bench. Dig your heels in. Heels go down and pull back. Okay, that's the action. Little lift, tuck the tailbone and hold. So let's take 2 deep breaths here. Tuck the tailbone, drive the heels down, pull the heels back. When you feel those hammies and glutes kick in, give me 10 hip lifts. Yep. Really thinking about heels driving down as the hips go up. Reaching the arms to the sky. Nice. Try to lift with your pelvis rather than your belly button. Good. Heels go down and pull back as the hips go up. When you finish your 10th repetition, you're going to stay lying on your back. You're going to cross your foot over your opposite knee into that figure 4 stretch. Because your feet were on your elevated surface, you can keep one foot there, or if it's more comfortable, you can lift that leg up. Whatever feels best. And just slow down your breathing. Nice deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And let's switch over to our other side. So cross your foot over your opposite knee. Stay on your back there. Take your nice deep breaths. Good. Nice work. All right, we're gonna make our way out of this exercise onto our hands and knees. We're gonna take our knees nice and wide, and we're gonna pull our hips back like we're going into a child's pose and stretch our hands forward. Now let's walk both hands over to the left and bring the chest down and take some nice deep breaths into our right armpit. Into our right armpit. Yeah. With every exhale, reach those fingers a little further. And let's walk the hands up and over to the right side. So now feeling a stretch in your left armpit. And bringing those hands back to tabletop. Let's take our right foot in front of us into a hip flexor lunge. So instead of just kind of dumping into the stretch, squeeze your back glute, tuck your tailbone under, and then start to lunge into the stretch. Okay, feeling a nice pull in the front of your left hip flexor. Now, depending on flexibility of your shoulders, you can either place your hands kind of on your low back and squeeze your elbows together, or you can clasp your hands behind you and pull away for a nice chest stretch. That's it. All right, let's switch to the other side. So left foot comes in front before we jump into it. Tuck the tailbone, get that right glute kind of squeezing, and then lunge into that hip flexor stretch. This time the arms are going to reach up to the ceiling, and then they're going to clasp and press all the way up to the sky as those hips go forward. And you are all finished. Thanks so much for joining, you guys. So the fun, exciting part. I just wrote up in the chat box a link to my brand new program, which launches today. It's called the 20 and 20 in Challenge, and it runs from December 1st through the 20th. If you're on my email list, you'll get an email about it today as well. So it is a 20-day movement challenge, very similar to what we just did here today. The workouts are 20 to 30 minutes long, and yes, 20 and 20. The goal is that you do 20 workouts in 20 days. Some are more intense. This one would be kind of more of the sweatier kind of intense ones, a little bit, some are a little harder than this. And then some are easy, more breathing, core engagement based. So fun things to check out. You can look at that sales page if you're interested. And because it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday time, it's bring a friend for free. So if you have a friend that wants to join with you, you can either split the cost, it's $49, so $25 each, or you could invite someone that you want to sweat alongside you because you're a nice friend that makes people do stuff like that. Okay, have a wonderful day, you guys. I'll get this recording out to you in a couple hours because it is Sloane's 4th birthday today. So we gotta go open presents, man. It's pretty exciting. Barbies, Paw Patrol, it's coming. Okay, thanks for joining.